have right now Maru making a Cyclone, whereas an add-on here for Ryung.
So it looks like Maru's not done trying to be aggressive here. This is what I was wondering. Like, are more tanks going to come in now? Is he going to try to put the pressure on further? You got to be careful for both sides here in moments like this, because every unit's super important. You drop a unit here or there, and you may not have the complexity to your army to kind of do what you need to do.
Ryung, by the way, hasn't committed to how he. Yeah, he hadn't committed till just this second. He's going mech.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, two factories being made here.
Yeah. I'm excited to see that, and I'm happy to see that, because it feels like impossible to outplay Maru in Biotank versus Biotank.
Yeah, try an alternative comp.
Yeah, and Ryung has always been a good mech player in TVT, like we were talking about before, so really cool to see that.
It's important to remember that, Ryung was mentored in TVT very early on by some amazing StarCraft 1 pros like Slayer's Boxer right at the start of StarCraft 2. And mech is the only way to play Brood War TVT. So it would make sense he still might have some of the strongest TVT here now. Yeah. As far as mech goes, I mean.
Well, it's a nice siege line here. The double Raven versus double Raven standoff, but with the Vikings being added in here for Ryung, he should be able to gain air dominance and eventually push through here. But Maru's slowed him a lot and has his own third down and mining. This is very, very annoying to get out of. Ooh, nice. I like these. I like these Reapers going out the side.
Yeah, he could definitely get some extra damage out. I mean, they have no usage the further this game goes, so you might as well try to get something off here. They're going to loop around, and they're going to be able to hit the third base here. Keep in mind, Maru is up a base. There hasn't been much fighting, but this entire time, Ryung has been contained, so this is a great opportunity for Ryung to try to come in here and get some kills, do some damage. Maybe take control of this game once more.
Even just shutting down for a little bit.
Here we go. Ooh, big disables on the tanks.
Yes, indeed. Comes out, brings some SCVs for tanking as well. Maru's still standing and fighting reasonably well, but it looks like his tanks will get cleared out. Wow, the Reapers are still over here. Like, I mean, they don't kill as many as the SCVs he had to spend to break out, but this was all very good from Ryung, I think. He's killed 4 tanks, lost 1. And now coming across the map, this is a scary army. How many tanks does Maru have?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have enough. Is Ryung just going to, like, waltz right through this group? This is kind of crazy. By the way, your games have been surprisingly close here with Maru as well. I mean, let's not forget Armani's game with Game 1 where, I got to say, I'm a bit shocked at how close that was, although Maru did win at the very end. This looks like it's going to be very, very tough to sandbag as far as progress goes with the mech push. Now, there is a small infantry group stimmable and ready to try to take a fight, but I think there's enough Ravens. You just shut down all the tanks and keep pushing.
You might not have energy right this second.
Does he not? I thought he had one on one of the Ravens. Maybe not.
He actually loses his command center as third base. So Maru's counterattack doing some big work as well. A stim forward here against 2 tanks sieging in a bad position. A disable on one of them. Oh my god. Maru just makes magic happen, seriously.
Well, yeah, the problem is that there's only tanks right now, and really if you just have a small number of infantry, that's better than a small number of tanks. I think Maru actually won this.
I think so. He's killed like every single SCVs in that main base. There's still a small chance here for Ryung. Like, tanks can be very efficient against everything.
The thing is, if you just stay away, keep in mind this army can actually pick up and medevacs. I mean, the army that's inside of Ryung's main.
Yeah, that's very true.
Can pick up and come back here and fight. You know, so like...
He might kill every building.
Yeah, he could.
One's flying away. Okay, so... I mean, I think you have to push on that tank very quickly.
I think you need to go try to end this right away because time is on Maru's side. He's got barracks still.
But there's so much up here for Maru. I think if he just takes everything and kind of spreads it and goes, he should be able to break these last tanks.
Well, let's remember there was an auto turret thrown down earlier on when he broke into the natural, so he doesn't have a disable ready on these tanks yet.
Yeah.
And maybe,
okay, there you go. He just got the energy for that disable. Moving forward now, and here come the SCVs and Marines. This is exactly what Maru needs to do to try to break through. Auto turret comes down.
Honestly,
he's being pretty darn efficient.
It's still not killed about 5 or 6 of the tanks. But the problem is that now he goes back and waits. He can inch forward with another tank.
Yeah.
There are no more Ravens. Were they just killed off in that fight?
Yeah.
So he keeps scanning here. If he's going to be in range, he can do it. And there's enough command centers here, he can actually keep dropping mules. So I think we're almost done with this game.
Yeah.
Everything, the super low hit points, mana on the medevacs. I mean, it's actually a pretty crazy ending to our first game here. It really looked like Ryung might take it, but yeah, there was just the exact right amount of infantry to swing every fight and basically do the more important damage sooner.
Whoa. Trying to break through right now, pulls back these Ravens, but Maru's going to come in with a flank as well.
That's it.
And it seems like he's just going to break Ryung.
GG.
Wow, what a game, though.
So we've got, on both sides, so far, mirrored behavior. We do have the tech lab coming here onto the factory here for Maru. Ryung hasn't gone for that just yet. Getting that first Hellion out first. But I think it's likely, like you were saying, Artosis, we're going to see mech again here from Ryung.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, but, I know that he can play bio, Marine tank. Maru, I believe, I would be pretty surprised if he went mech. And the thing is, Maru is actually quite good at mech in this matchup. But he's just, so good with bio tank.
We've got Maru now with a third base. Although Ryung's is going to be a couple seconds behind that. And, nobody's really trying to take an assertive position here. It's been pretty passive overall, which is neither good nor bad. I think in some sense it's both sides showing a lot of respect. We saw how quickly things began to, take a certain direction after it was Maru trying to set up that contain. And, Maru won that last game with a crazy counterattack, but that's not really how you want to win your games. Like, it's cool when it happens, and it's a great story, but you want to try to win in a cleaner fashion. So I really think this is Maru making a pretty big and necessary adjustment.
Yeah.
And so the build-up on both sides continues. Nobody going for any kind of contain still. Nobody even setting up for any kind of counterattack with a medevac either. So, a very slow game. A lot of TVT is about positioning, more so than the other matchups. So it's interesting to see nobody really take any position other than, a default one of sitting at the bases that they have.
Both sides are adding on more starports, so we're going to see an increase in Ravens and Vikings. We might even eventually end up seeing battlecruisers here. Because that can be a big part of endgame TVT. Once those air armies get big enough, battlecruisers can become really powerful. And reactor for Maru.
Yeah, it looks like Ryung's going to try to push out here. And it's not going to be easy to get up these two ramps over here. But there's not a lot to push into yet. I mean, Maru's been very patient.
Maru's just playing beautifully here. Like, look at how Ryung is actually up a little bit in supply, but Maru consistently has more upgrades and more command centers on the way, because your opponent has 15 more Marines than you or whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter at all.
I'm glad that you pointed that out, because it's a really important feature of somebody who really understands the late game and the end game is like, yeah, workers don't matter right now. We want more command centers. We want to be able to drop mules later on here. And even little plays like this, he's trying to do damage. He doesn't care if some of these Marines are bled off. He's not going to get that much more value just sitting on these Marines. They don't do more, sitting at your base, not attacking. So he's looking for an opening, whether that be like, okay, right here, like, let's kill the gas. Boom. A little bit less gas for you, Ryung.
And keep your opponent a little bit more busy. Like, go clean that up now, Ryung.
I literally read Corvid reactor on screen as COVID reactor. I'm like, well, this patch has changed the game, okay?
More command centers here for Maru, more starports as well. Yeah, like, Ryung is playing very well, but then you look at the way that Maru is doing this, and there's been like so little action between the two. Now,
So it seems like Ryung's going to try to push in here. And this is going to be the first real full-on engagement. He disables 2 tanks in the back. The rest of the tanks are going to siege up. I feel like this is a little bit too much of a congested area to try to run the Marines through. You might even need to wait for the rest of this stuff to get destroyed over here if he's even going to come try to fight that. Yeah. Am I mistaken? Who has more Vikings here?
The Viking count goes to Maru heavily.
You're right, yeah.
But, like, it's still hard to push in there and do anything. Like, look, even those 4 Marines on the floor there, like, there's only 4 Marines for Ryung, but 4 Marines will add enough DPS that it's going to screw up everything if he actually tries to dive on the Vikings that are further behind. You throw down 1 armor shred and the Marines, like, pop everything in 2 seconds.
It seems to me like we're starting to see Ryung take a better and better position here. I do like the disables on the tanks, but, I mean, Maru doesn't have that CC there. And let's remember last game, guys. I mean, it really was a game where it just kind of seemed like Maru was about to lose until he, you know, pulled a rabbit out of his hat. This is a slower, much more cautious game from Ryung, and I think positionally he's starting to be better off. I mean, he's got this foothold here that's very nice. I don't think that Maru is going to, you know, lose in this position or anything, but I just think that Ryung kind of looks like a little bit ahead, maybe a little bit more in control of this game for now. Maru still needs to send some workers back over to that command center and resume mining from there. It's almost depleted, but especially in a matchup where the map may be cut in half, depleting every resource patch you can is extremely important.
Well, here we go. This is the battle. But Maru actually just has more in the air right now. Some disables on those tanks, so his ground force actually will end up doing a pretty darn good job here. Looks like we're going to have a few landed Vikings in the center, but already Ryung has landed his own, so we'll kill those off as well. So, I mean, Ryung is making good moves, but Maru here with a little bit of a counterattack, going to force a cancel on that command center.
It is a weird thing when we start to see the Sky Terran play make, you know, a more important role as the game goes on a little bit further on here, you know. But yeah, I mean, at this moment, once again, this is a spot he can't really control. Now, the Vikings here for Ryung are forced onto the ground. If they lift back off, they're going to be punished immediately by the Vikings that are already airborne here from Maru.
Seems like, you know, Ryung's attack here has been doing a good job, but it's not lasting. Like, he is getting grinded down a little bit. A Liberator on the way here for Maru. Yes, exactly. I mean, you have air control like this, you can definitely pop out a Liberator and start utilizing that. That forces your opponent's Vikings forward, too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're leveraging that, you know, that position where you have all these forces by air. So, I mean, Maru comes out on top after that fight is done. I don't know really how much Maru lost in the grand scheme of things not having a base there for a little bit. But Maru's going to make a move of his own now. And it looks like he's going to skate down maybe the middle of the map here. He needs to look for a fight somewhere.
Yeah, a little Bioforce here from Ryung going up the side. Planetary's going to finish up.
Yeah.
This building is not this time.
This building is pretty good, man. You could try to micro against it. The observer's going to find out if 2 Marines can beat this planetary. Look at that little SCV back there being
really
repaired.
Saved everything, man.
Yeah.
Look at that, Ryung with another little force going forward. Some more disables. The armor shred is pretty insane there. Looks like he's looking for his own. There you go. Beautiful one.
Ryung trying to pull a Maru here in the end game. Those Marines in the main. And Maru's continuing to push. We're going to see when these Marines can actually be, you know, sorted. Again, with the air superiority, it's just very hard for Ryung to kind of get close and try to engage that army of Marus.
Looks like this little force is finally going to get cleaned up.
The question is, does that starport get repaired? Here we go, another big attack. Huge disables here. Almost every tank is disabled. I don't know about some of the ones underneath the Vikings, but this is a wild moment here. Yeah. How many tanks are actually sieged? Not that many, so the spell wears off, or the ability wears off, whatever you want to call it. Now, Ryung does win the ground fight, but the air fight is once again won here by Maru. And kind of a crazy moment back there.
Yeah, Ryung is in a tough space. I don't think that there's any way for him to ever have air control at this point. And in fact, I don't think he's making Vikings anymore, which is probably correct. I think if he switches it up real quick in a Marine tank and runs around the map, he has potential to do something. There's only a couple tanks left for Maru. So, even, I mean, if you have air control, it doesn't mean much if you don't have the tanks to utilize with it.
Yeah, it's very true. It's kind of a funny little problem that is actually what makes Starcraft endgame and mirror matchups really interesting. Is like, okay, you only got 200 supply of what you could fill it up with. You need some of that to be workers, regardless of the matchup. But then, you know, there's certain units, some are better than others, right? So it's sort of this balancing act, and sometimes this like counter to counter to counter to counter play of like you're trying to rotate in which unit you actually need in which moment. And that's what we're seeing basically here between Maru and Ryung, and it's really technical. Hold on a second. Stim's going to come in here. I think there's enough infantry. Yeah, there's enough infantry there for Ryung that Maru has to respect and pull away.
And look at those Vikings that are armor shredded flying away. Like, the Marines will absolutely destroy that. Gosh, Ryung being a little bit slow here, but he's bringing up his tanks. Okay, he actually disables those tanks. Here you go. Ryung getting that damage done. Very impressive stuff. He's going to get this command center as well.
It's kind of weird to see this fight happen over and over again in this location that at this point in time is not really that important. I mean, there's almost no minerals left here, but...
Yeah, at this point, it's drying up pretty well.
I mean, every part of the map is important in TVT, you know, but looks like Maru's going to once again come down here. And he should have mustered larger forces, but it seems like especially in size and also angling, initially the infantry just wasn't in a very good spot. Is Ryung going to be able to chew his way through this?
He's doing
perhaps not.
Pretty darn nice job, though, I think. Like, he's eliminating these little ground forces of Maru. Maru doesn't have that much. He is starting to add in battlecruisers.
Dude, every base on the map is taken.
Yeah.
Except for that one that was killed off. But, I mean, you get what I'm saying.
A lot of tanks being sieged up right now. Picking off a lot of these command centers as well. The BCs are out. The BCs are going to do a fantastic job here. I believe he has full upgrades on them as well.
And, you know, one thing about having the tank advantage is it has its moments, but we're seeing one of the reasons why you can't just win with tanks. And the BCs, especially because they can moving shoot, I mean, they're dominating over here. The Marines can't really do anything. In fact, I think he needs to actually just unsiege everything and leave like he is now.
There's no way these damaged Marines have any shot against such fully upgraded battlecruisers. Yeah, Maru even has 3 armor on them, so they, like... Well, I mean, the armor shreddment definitely helps, but they do jump out of there. It'd be very hard to fight against that, and...
What a crazy game, dude. Look at the minerals and gas. They're both spending hard. Nobody's got anything banked up at all, which means it's just been fight after fight after fight. We're like, what, almost 22 minutes into this game.
It's an awesome game, and the first game was awesome. I could watch these two TVT all day.
Yeah, this is...
I know that they're like best friends now, but do they have room for a third best friend that just watches?
I mean, this is wild. I think that this may come down to the base at 3 o'clock and the base at 9 o'clock. Because it doesn't seem like anybody is clearly strong enough to actually push all the way across and take out the top bases or take out the bottom. And so, especially in a matchup like this, it's going to be pretty interesting. Basically, the bases closer to the middle are the ones that you need to take and you need to hold if you're going to win this. And it may come down to just one base. It may come down to, like, Ryung can hold the left barely, and Maru can never get a CC landed on the right, nor can Ryung, and therefore Maru loses.
Well, I think right now, what this is feeling like to me is that Maru's siege tank count is going back up, where it's a much closer number. That plus BC plus air control, I don't see how you're supposed to win the game as Ryung. Like, Ryung has made so many good moves, and it still looks pretty close, but I think Maru is starting to take the advantage with these BCs. And there's no clean way to deal with it as the siege tank count increases here for Maru.
Yeah.
He's going to have his Yamatos up and everything, so you're just going to start losing tanks or whatever it is that he wants to kill. Some disables going on. That's nice. Battlecruisers flying back now.
Yeah, and, you know, I think he might be able to just get this entire army right over here.
Disables a couple of those, does chase him out. That was
a bit of a weird recall from the Battlecruiser,
yeah.
or teleport, or whatever you want to call it.
But I think he's got enough to clear this all now.
Yeah. All right, he does it.
Wow.
GG. That was quite the game.